From friends to lovers,
to kisses and cuddles,
you're doing it
God's way.
This is Stronger Together, Closer to God. Hey fam, welcome to Stronger Together, Closer to God podcast. This is Minister Vernon, and today's episode, my wife and I are going to continue in our series on caregiving resilience. And just want to remind you, caregivers often put their health last, but burning out helps no one. Today, we're tackling why self-care isn't selfish, it's a biblical stewardship. Today, caregiving demands so much, often leaving us feeling depleted financially and physically. How do we sustain this marathon without burning out? That's what we're going to be tackling today with vital, practical strategies to help you out. And this is part 2 of our caregiving series, the caregiving resilience. And in this episode, we're just going to talk truly what the heart matters. I want to share with you a statistic that really just took me by surprise. It says in 2024, research from AARP and caring.com shows 70% of caregivers now face chronic illness. Think about that for a second. You talked about it in the last episode, but just in case somebody wasn't listening to that last episode, can you just remind us about the importance that you can't pour from an empty cup?
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, we give so much, we pour out so much, we have to get poured back into. And a lot of times that means spending time with God first and foremost. But there's also some other strategies that we can use to get poured back into. Self-care days, just rest. My amazing husband always reminds me, like, you need to rest. You need to rest. You need to rest. And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean? Like, I just woke up, or what do you mean I need to rest? I need to do this, this, and this. But it's so important for us as caregivers to take care of our health, because if we don't take care of our health, what happens to our loved ones when we're not able to care for them?
Yeah, because I could just remember in the time when I was taking care of my dad, that it was like I would get up around 6 a.m, go in, check with him, change him, make sure he was new clothes, everything was straight, then go feed him. Right. And then after I feed him, then I might have a little break in between. And then I was working on some other matters, whether it was our nonprofit organization. I wasn't teaching at that time, but I was still doing tutoring and stuff. Then it'll be lunch. Right. And so I'm back in there feeding him lunch. Somebody's dropping off lunch and I'm feeding him lunch. And then after feeding him, change him again, and then go back and get a little bit of break and do a little bit of house chores or whatever the case may be, or be there for you and whatnot. And then go back again for dinner, do the same process over again. You make sure each time he's getting fed, he's getting medicine, make sure he get his medicine and stuff, and then go and you keep that pattern over and over. That's a burnout that's going to about happen.
And then you have to say to yourself, wait a minute, when's the last time I ate? When's the last time I took a nap? Did I shower today? It's almost, I know we're caregivers for the elderly, but there's also, for our elderly parents, there's also caregivers that they're caring for their children that are, unable to care for themselves too. And it's literally like, and when I say this, I'm not saying it in a demeaning way, but when we're caregivers for our elderly parents, it's almost like we're taking care of babies. Our schedules are almost like as if they were children, childlike. We're changing them, we're feeding them, and things like that. But yeah, it's so important that we have to take care of ourselves too, because if we don't, we won't be able to take care of our loved ones.
Just remind yourself whenever these situations as caregivers, think of yourself being back on that plane.
Yeah.
Remind yourself when they go over the procedures, what's the main thing they talk about when that mask comes down, who to put it on first. You are to put it on you first before you put it on your loved ones, because of the fact that once you get the oxygen, it's going to help you out so you can be able to help the person next to you out. If you try to put it on the other person, then you might be able to get it on them in time, or unfortunately, both of y'all are now being impacted because you couldn't put the mask on first.
Right.
And so here's some practical steps and tips. And we're giving you these tips not only because of our experience, because these are lessons we learn in our journey as caregivers. You heard my wife earlier say rest. You got to prioritize rest. Even small moments of rest can make the ultimate difference, even if it's a 30-minute nap, 20-minute nap, even if it's time to just sit and watch TV or check your phone and look at YouTube videos or social media posts and stuff. Mark 6, verse 31 remind us that even Jesus had to remind the disciples to get rest. In Mark 6, verse 31, it says there was such a swirl of activity around Jesus with so many people coming and going that they were unable to even eat a meal. So Jesus said to his disciples, come, let's take a break and find a secluded place where you can rest a while. So you can see that if even Jesus had to remind the disciples who were doing so much caregiving and healing and everything else, that he had to remind them, hey, we all need a break. Let's pull back. Let's take a break. Let's rest for a while.
Right.
What does that say about you and I? Yeah, very important that we take that time to rest. And then take care of our wellness, our nutrition, brief exercises, even just stressing. In the 3rd John chapter 1, verse 2, it says, my dear friend, I pray that everything may go well with you, that you may be in good health, as I know you are well in the spirit. See, just as Paul was checking in on one of his fellow travelers and hosts of Corinth, God is also checking on us to ensure that we are doing well physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So that's very important as well, that you take time. I know sometimes I would go for a walk, or my wife and I will go for a walk, or sometimes I will do stretches and things of that sort, or I learned about Tai Chi and started doing a little bit of that. I need to get back into that. But those little things like that can make a big difference.
They can.
Of really just bringing you back to centeredness and giving you comfort and peace that you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
I learned on a reel the other day, Loves, where as we're getting older, I'll be 55 in October, Lord willing. And I was watching it, and this lady was explaining how when she gets up in the morning, she is in pain. Her whole body is in pain. And like in the other episode, we talked about it. I talked about it, and I was like, oh, let me try that. So she's laying in the bed and she's doing like just really easy stretches prior to putting her feet on the floor, and it actually works.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, absolutely. Those little things, those little moments, it might seem kind of strange to do, but when you have moments like that, please take advantage of it, because that really helps you out.
It does.
And then seek professional help. That could be whether that's through the church, whether that is through a counselor. The importance of seeking therapy or counseling for your mental health.
Yes.
1 Peter 5, verse 7 reminds us that you pour out all your worries and stress upon him and leave them there, for he always tenderly cares for you. God wants us to be able to go to individuals who we can pour our hearts out. He definitely wants us to go to him and pour it into him, but he has assigned people on this earth that can help us out in the process, so that we can receive wise counsel that will help us with our mental state. So that's something to really consider.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say it. I have a therapist that I go see. I was seeing her a little more often when things were really intense. I don't see her as much as I used to, but I may go back to seeing her a little bit more. I was doing weekly, then I pulled back to 2 weeks, and now I go monthly, and it really helps. Loves is another one that I always pour out to, but I also know that it's okay to seek professional help too. So
Yep. And then for me, I still connect with a couple people from church that I was connected with. They really help me out every 2 weeks. We get together, especially one of the husbands who's going through a similar situation as we're going through. So that's an accountability partner that we can pour into each other out and just talk about what we're going through, the highs and lows, and be able to support each other.
Right.
So those are another way to do that. I think it's very important. This is something we did we didn't know the impact of doing something like this through our nonprofit organization, but every staff member that we have who helps us out with the summer camp, they are required to have first aid CPR training.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. If you are a caregiver, you should get training on first aid CPR.
Yes.
There were moments and times I can say personally when my dad had episodes and I knew immediately what to do in those scenarios and how to help him out. There were times where he got into really serious situations. And if I didn't know first aid CPR in those moments, we could have lost him sooner than the longevity that we were blessed to have him with.
Absolutely.
I know in Lovey's case, because of that training, that her niece was able to be there to come back to the house that her grandfather was staying at with them. And she was able to help out because we were 45 minutes away and she was literally 5 minutes away with her friend, and they drove back and was able to talk and really confirm, okay, something's going on. Let's call 911 and was able to do what needed to be done. Had that not been the case, we could be talking about a different story.
Right. Because it actually happened with my dad 2 times. The first time, like I said, it was with my niece, and we were 45 minutes away, and my mom was like, oh, we'll just wait for you guys to get here. I was like, no, time is of the essence. Let's call 911 because he was having a stroke. And then the second time was you and I had went over to my parents, and my dad was in the process of having a stroke. And time is of the essence when it comes to strokes and things like that. So yeah, it's very important for, I say, caregivers to have CPR first aid training if you're able to.
Yeah. And then, of course, the spiritual integration that you tie self-care back to this stewardship of your body. It's a temple of the Holy Spirit. Isaiah 26 verse 3 reminds us, God, you give true peace to people who depend on you, to those who trust you. So we got to be able to trust in the Lord and guide us on the journey that we are in as caregivers.
Right.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing your health as a caregiver isn't just practical, it's holy. And it's very important, as you heard in this episode, take time to take care of you. Please take time to rest, take time to take care of your wellness. And if necessary, get the professional help that's going to help you become stronger and closer with God and stronger and closer with the one you care. Next time, we'll talk about how to manage your financial strains without guilt. Thank you for listening to Stronger Together, Closer to God. If you are interested in partnering with us, please visit our website at s2c2gministry.com and click on the Partners tab. Your support enables us to further share this message and assist more individuals and couples in strengthening their relationships and growing closer to God. Thank you for your encouragement, and until next time, peace and blessings to all of you.